Hi, in this video, we will continue with our lessons on economic system. Economic system is basically talking about how resources are owned and controlled in a state. We made mention of the capitalist, where resources are owned and controlled by private individuals. Socialist, resources are collectively and jointly owned by the state. Now, we want to talk about the last one, which is mixed economy. And that is basically talking about the mix of two, where private individuals are take control of a specific production service and the state also take control of a specific area of the economy. Let's look into it. This can be defined as a type of economic system in which both the private and the public ownership of the means of production and distribution exists together in the country. So there is a need for private, then public ownership of means of production jointly. There is both private individuals own resource and then the state also own resource in the same country. Under this economic system, resources of means of productions are jointly owned and managed by both private and then public interests. There is a joint or a mixed combination of the two systems that we made mention of from the beginning. Now, what are some of the features of this? There is a joint participation of both private and public sector in the provision of goods and services. So when there is a provision or production of goods and services, it is done by both the private and then the public sector. So you see the private sector producing goods and then the public sector also producing goods. There is an opportunity for both. So in Ghana here, we have private schools, we have public schools. Both of these institutions are doing the same thing. At the end of the day, they are offering the same, almost the same services to us. Then joint decisions are made by both public and private sectors on what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. So where there is a decision on how production is supposed to be made, there is a joint decision made by both the private and then the public sector. They come together, they arrange, they make decisions together, and then they come up with the production process which is supposed to be used. Then consumers have freedom of choice. So just as I've made mention of using private school and the public school, you have your freedom to choose a public school or private school in the same country. There is a private ownership and then there is also public ownership. You have your freedom to make a choice as a consumer. Then the combination of both the public and the private sector help to put checks and balances in the economy. So where we have different kind of ownership, private and then public, there is a need for check and balance. The public institutions can check the performance of the private, and where they fall short, they can quickly adjust. The same way, the private institution can check the public institutions, and where there is a need for them to make balances or where there is a need for them to make up, they also do so. So you can realize that both institutions check themselves, and where they are supposed to make changes for them to be better, they do so. There is economic freedom in the area of production, consumption, and distribution of commodities. So there is economic freedom in the area of production. What you are supposed to, what you want to produce, there is a freedom of that. What you want to consume, which one do you want to consume? Do you want to consume goods that are produced by private or the public sector? You have your freedom. And then distribution of commodities, how the mode of distribution. So during COVID, private individual, a lot of private institutions or schools especially adapted online education, and then some of the public institutions went on break instead of the online. So you can see that there is a freedom of how to distribute services. So while the private institutions or the schools think that there is a need to meet their students online and use online services, some of the public institutions also think that let's go on break. When COVID is back, we will come back to the classroom. So there is a freedom of production, consumption, and then distribution of services to the consumers. So some of the advantages of this is that it encourages private initiative. Private individuals can come up with ideas that will make their production process better. There is also freedom of choice for the consumers. I can decide to consume private manufactured goods or public manufactured goods. I have the freedom to make that choice. It also ensures that income is distributed equitably. So while the capitalist aspect of the economy is taking care of the poor in quote, or those that cannot produce for themselves, the same way the capitalist system is also taking care of the rich, those that can produce or those that can own resources for themselves. It ensures economic development. So both area of the economy will be working where it actually end up in economic development. It ensures job security and employment. In fact, this economy is seen to have the maximum employment because private individual will employ, at the same time the public is also going to employ. Monopoly is prevented because of joint participation in the economic activity by both private and public. So there is no monopoly here because we don't have a single producer or a single manufacturer of goods. Public individuals, public state is producing, and then the private individuals are also producing. So we don't have a monopoly. We rather have a healthy competition where the public can look at what the private is doing. The private can also look at what the public is doing. There is a healthy competition on what is produced. Because when public institutions are not performing well, people will take their children to the private. And when private are not performing well, the children will be sent to the public. So you can realize that there is a healthy competition among the joint participation of the private and public sector. These are some of the advantages and the features of a mixed economy, an economy where resources are jointly owned, managed, and controlled by both private individuals and the state. Thank you.